We stand before a titan of stone and sorrow, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in Weston, West Virginia. Its very name sends a shiver down your spine, doesn't it? This isn't just a building, it's a monument to a forgotten era of mental health care. For over a century, thousands of souls passed through these doors, each carrying their own burdens, their own stories, their own pain. It was meant to be a place of healing, a sanctuary for troubled minds. But as we know, good intentions can often pave the way to unimaginable darkness. The asylum looms over the town of Weston, a constant brooding reminder of its complex past. Its Gothic spires reach towards the sky, almost like skeletal fingers clawing at the heavens. This place has witnessed joy, yes, but also profound suffering, neglect, and the slow decay of human dignity. The energy here is palpable, an undeniable presence that speaks of the tormented spirits left behind. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, originally known as the Weston State Hospital, stands as one of the largest hand-cut stone masonry buildings in North America. It was a symbol of a new approach to mental illness, a belief that with the right environment recovery was possible. But the reality, as it so often does, fell tragically short of the ideal. The stories trapped within these walls are not just historical accounts, they are whispers from the past, cries for understanding, and sometimes chilling warnings. Prepare yourself. We are about to unlock the secrets of a place where history and the paranormal collide with terrifying force. The story of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum's construction is as dramatic and troubled as the lives it would later house. The vision began in the mid-1850s, a time of burgeoning awareness, however flawed, about mental health. Virginia, before West Virginia's secession, recognized the need for a new facility. The chosen architect was Richard Snowden Andrews, a man known for his grand designs, including the Maryland governor's mansion. He envisioned a colossal structure, a testament to the era's belief in the curative power of architecture. Construction officially commenced in 1858. Imagine the scene-skilled stonemasons, laborers, convicts, all working tirelessly, shaping the massive blocks of local blue sandstone. The Civil War erupted, tearing the nation, and Virginia itself, apart. The Confederate government had initially funded the project, but with the outbreak of war, those funds dried up. Then, in a dramatic turn, the Union Army seized the hospital's construction funds from a local bank. The asylum itself became a strategic asset, with its grounds even being used by Union troops. Work on the asylum, now under the banner of the newly formed state of West Virginia, resumed fitfully after the war. The design of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum wasn't just about aesthetics or grandeur, it was deeply rooted in a specific psychiatric philosophy known as the Kirkbride Plan. Developed by Dr. Thomas Story Kirkbride in the mid-19th century, this architectural model was revolutionary for its time. Kirkbride believed that the physical environment played a crucial role in the treatment of mental illness. He advocated for asylums built in rural settings, away from the chaos of cities, offering patients fresh air, sunlight, and a sense of tranquility. The core idea was that a well-designed building could itself be a therapeutic tool, a radical concept back then. The Kirkbride Plan dictated a specific layout, a central administration building flanked by long, staggered wings. These wings were designed so that each patient room had an outside window, ensuring access to natural light and ventilation. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is a prime example of this design, its sprawling wings stretching out like a colossal bat. It was a system built on hope and a belief in humane treatment. However, the sheer scale of these Kirkbride buildings, like the one in Weston, often became their undoing. While designed with noble intentions, their immense size could also feel isolating and institutional. The blueprint was for healing, but the outcome was often far darker. In the early years of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, the prevailing philosophy of care was moral treatment. This approach emphasized kindness, respect, and a structured, humane environment. The idea was that mental illness wasn't a curse or a sign of demonic possession, but a condition that could be treated through compassionate care and a therapeutic setting. Patients were to be treated as individuals, with their days filled with purposeful activities, social interaction, and minimal physical restraint. Under the principles of moral treatment, patients at Weston were encouraged to participate in various activities designed to occupy their minds and bodies. Men might work on the asylum's farm or in its workshops, engaging in carpentry or blacksmithing. Women would often be involved in domestic tasks like sewing, laundry, or gardening. Leisure activities were also considered vital. Music, dances, reading, and even theatrical performances were organized to provide a sense of normalcy and community. The aim was to create an environment that mirrored a well-ordered home, fostering a sense of belonging and purpose. However, the promise of moral treatment was fragile and ultimately unsustainable in the face of overwhelming challenges. The glimmer of hope that moral treatment represented began to fade, replaced by a much darker chapter in the asylum's history. Here we'll delve into the concepts of self-sufficiency and isolation, examining how they manifested within the confines of the asylum. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, like many Kirkbride institutions, was designed to be a largely self-sufficient entity. This wasn't just an economic consideration, it was deeply intertwined with the philosophy of moral treatment. The idea was to create a self-contained world, a therapeutic community where patients could contribute to their own upkeep and find purpose in productive labor. The asylum grounds were vast, encompassing hundreds of acres of fertile land. This land was cultivated to provide food for the patients and staff, creating a direct link between labor and sustenance. A massive farm was an integral part of the asylum's operations. Patients, particularly men deemed capable, would work the fields, tending to crops like corn, potatoes, and vegetables. They raised livestock, including cattle for beef and dairy, pigs, and chickens. The asylum had its own dairy, providing fresh milk, butter, and cheese. This self-sufficiency created a powerful sense of isolation from the outside world, a world that many patients would never rejoin. The dream of a self-sustaining sanctuary slowly transformed into the reality of an overburdened, isolated institution. Next, we will cover overcrowding and its erosion of care at the facility. The mid-20th century marked a dark and desperate period for the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Originally designed to comfortably house around 250 patients, the institution saw its population explode. By the 1950s, it was crammed with over 2,400 individuals, nearly 10 times its intended capacity. This catastrophic overcrowding became the defining characteristic of the asylum's decline. Imagine the conditions. Rooms meant for 1 or 2 people were forced to hold 4, 5, or even more. Beds lined the long corridors, patients slept on mattresses on the floor, and personal space became a forgotten luxury. The sheer number of people overwhelmed every aspect of the facility. With such overcrowding came an inevitable and horrifying decline in sanitation and living conditions. The staff, though often dedicated, were stretched impossibly thin, unable to provide even basic care. Instead of a sanctuary, the asylum transformed into a warehouse for the mentally ill, a place where human dignity was systematically eroded by neglect and sheer numbers. The very stones of this place absorbed that anguish, and I believe that energy lingers, a testament to the thousands who endured unimaginable conditions here. Let's discuss the pharmaceutical shift and the impending closing of the doors. The landscape of mental health care began to shift dramatically in the mid-1950s with the introduction of psychotropic medications. Drugs like Thorazine, one of the first antipsychotics, offered a new way to manage the symptoms of severe mental illness. For institutions like the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, these medications seemed like a miracle. They could calm agitated patients, reduce psychotic symptoms, and make individuals more manageable. This pharmaceutical revolution held the promise of emptying the overcrowded wards and offering patients a chance at life outside the asylum walls. These new drugs fueled the movement known as deinstitutionalization. The prevailing belief became that large, state-run mental hospitals were inherently harmful, and that patients would be better served by community-based mental health centers. The goal was to transition patients out of massive institutions like Weston and integrate them back into society, supported by medication and outpatient services. For the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, the advent of psychotropic drugs and the push for deinstitutionalization marked the beginning of the end. The patient population, which had peaked in the thousands, began to slowly decline as individuals were medicated and discharged, or simply not admitted at the same rate. The final closure of the Weston State Hospital, as it was then known, came in 1994. All the past anguish leads us to a legacy of hauntings. With its closure in 1994, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum faced an uncertain future. This colossal structure, a national historic landmark, was too significant to demolish, yet too vast and dilapidated for easy repurposing. For several years it sat largely abandoned. a decaying giant slowly succumbing to the elements and vandalism. Then, in 2007, a new chapter began when Joe Jordan, a private developer, purchased the asylum at auction. His vision was to preserve this incredible piece of history, to stabilize the deteriorating building, and to open its doors to the public, allowing its stories, both historical and paranormal, to be told. Today, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum operates as a historical museum and a major tourist attraction. Visitors can take a variety of tours, ranging from historical explorations of the architecture and medical practices to intense, late-night paranormal investigations. The historical tours showcase the Kirkbride design, the medical wards, the treatment rooms, and artifacts left behind from its long operational period. But let's be real. A huge part of the asylum's current fame, and what draws many people, including myself, to its imposing gates, is its reputation as one of America's most haunted locations. Given its history, the thousands of deaths, the suffering, the overcrowding, the primitive treatments like lobotomies and electroshock therapy, it's no surprise that this place is considered a hotbed of paranormal activity. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum stands today not just as a historical monument, but as a chilling reminder that the past is never truly dead, and its voices still demand to be heard.
Good evening. Now that the staff is gone, we can play. What's your name? I'm Lily.